So I'm going to tell you about this next woman. Oh my God. So I do a lot of communities, a lot of networking, and I kept hearing this name, Innovation Women, Innovation Women. And I thought, that sounds cool. That sounds really cool. And people kept, when I hear something come to me 3 times in a row, that's always like a sign. And then I studied this woman who had created this group, Innovation Women, and I was like, oh my God. Oh my gosh. She's had her own PR and marketing firm forever. She has created so many cool things. She has a TED Talk, and she's a huge stand for women getting on more stages. She's tired of the male and pale. Let's everybody give a warm welcome to Bobbie Carlton. Woo, Bobbie! I know it's, you're like, oh my God, it might be too much. Woo! But so excited to have you. Thank you for being here. I know you're so busy. Wow.
Hi,
Hi.
Elaine. And other Elaine.
And the other Elaine. And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on, Bobbie, is because you lead with, you're so humble, and you have a great sense of humor.
My reputation exceeds me.
I just feel like you have this great sense of, like, you've done all this stuff and you're like, yeah, I've done this stuff, but you're still for like the little guy, the little girls, like you want us to be on stages. And I just love your mission. And, tell us how you got so fired up about that.
Oh, I usually tell people that Innovation Women's a product of me being pissed off. So,
Yeah.
you don't want to piss off Bobbie because she goes and creates another company. I have a bunch of companies, and Innovation Women is number 3. So I'm not a serial entrepreneur. I'm a parallel entrepreneur. You have to think back to, like, what, 6th or 7th grade science for that one?
Okay.
Parallel circuits versus serial circuits.
Okay. That sounds like technology. No.
Yeah, no, it is. But I literally started Innovation Women because I saw a need. 2/3 of all conference speakers are men. And by the way, that number is actually worse than it sounds, because it includes all of those conferences that are women conferences where the majority of speakers are women. So there's like some conferences on the other side that are balancing that out. So yeah, it's worse than it even sounds.
Oh God. And I have to tell you, I feel like I'm 54, and I always feel like I'm sort of late to some of the parties, but I'm here, but I remember looking at a brochure for some kind of event in New Jersey, and I remember having this thought, and this is like 15 years ago, of just like, wow, it's all guys. Huh. And I had like a little bit of like, and then I thought, well, maybe you don't know, I discounted that anger. And now I'm like, I'm sick of it. We need, and same for comedy. My God, if I hear one more male perspective, please. Yeah.
Yeah. I once went to a conference that was so male heavy and so much of a desert for women that every time I went to the ladies' rooms, the lights would go on.
Because there was no other woman.
There were no other women there. Either that or they were holding it.
Wow. And so when did you start Innovation Women?
I did the crowdfunding to buy me some developers in 2014.
Okay.
And then we launched the platform in 2015.
Okay, cool. And will you tell people about it? Because you'll explain it better than I do, because I'm still learning.
Yes. And one of the things about Innovation Women is we call it a visibility bureau, not really a speakers bureau. Like a speakers bureau will hold your hand and they'll book everything for you. We're like, I give you the tools and you are going to rock it. So the way that Innovation Women works is 2 different kinds of people join Innovation Women. On one side, there is what we generically call event managers, and that includes podcasters looking for guests, ERGs, corporate employee resource groups that are looking for workshop leaders, big conferences, little events, journalists looking for subject matter experts. So we generically call them event managers, basically people looking for speakers.
Okay.
And then on the other side are speakers. We have about 2,000 speakers, mostly women, but a handful of very secure male allies. You know,
Woo.
if you are a guy and you want to belong to Innovation Women, who am I to stop you? And, you know, what kind of DEI initiative would I be if I was kicking somebody out of my thing?
Great point.
So you bring together these two different groups. The event managers can invite the speakers. And on the other side, the other direction, Innovation Women members can apply for speaking opportunities on the platform. So that's it, kind of a basic, but we have all kinds of resources. We have Speaker Friend Fridays, which is like the highlight of my week. Basically, picture this group and 50, 60 women all on a conference call every Friday morning, just talking about being a speaker, talking about all the things that go into it, being an author, doing your marketing, your business model, being an awesome speaker, and having a whole group of people that's there to support you.
Yes, I love it. I mean, I was, to be honest, I was a little intimidated at first. I was like,
Oh,
wow, and I kept thinking, I belong here too. I belong here too. And then I did connections with many of them and have just, they've been, most women have been so generous and cool. And like, I was in Denver and I met this woman, Sylvia Scott, who was
oh my
just
God.
adorable. She has done everything. We had dinner and I was like, and then what'd you do? And then like she's been in fashion. She's been a mentor for young women. She's done like she's lived everywhere. I said, how did you meet Bobbie? And she said she was on a board with you. Just phenomenal human being. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of amazing women on Innovation Women. And really, the goal for us is to make it easy for event managers to achieve gender equity on stage. And, you know, obviously, a few years after I started Innovation Women, I'm like, duh, I really kind of should have been broader about this whole thing because it really is about having diverse voices on stage at conferences and events. Number one, more interesting conversations. And number two, like we need these opportunities. We need to get out there. We need to be visible. We need to be seen as thought leaders and experts. We really need this time on stage to come into our own and have the opportunity to tell our stories.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And I feel like you've always been like a trailblazer, Bobbie. Did you have a moment, were you ever timid or, did you have a big like da 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 da? Are you
Oh,
faking it or
yeah, there's a lot of that actually. So my day job is running a PR and marketing firm. The night job for since like 2008 is an event in the Boston market called Innovation Nights. And Innovation Nights, every month we would do an event and we would help launch local startups with their new products. And I started this thing kind of as a way to play with social media in the early days of social media. And I created this event. I brought all these startups together and, you know, a big audience and everything like that. And I swear to God, it wasn't until like 5 minutes before we opened the door that I realized, oh, I'm going to have to present. I'm going to have to be the MC. I'm going to have to get on stage because I'm an introvert and my job was to get other people on stage. Like literally, that was my whole career. I would get executives on stage. And by the way, first 20 years of my career, never had a woman client. So I have a lot to make up for, a lot to atone for. But back to that night, April 2009, I literally like sweated through my shirt. Thank God I
Oh,
was wearing a blazer. Like, if you've ever seen broadcast news and they're like, bring out the towels, like that was me that night. And of course, this event, we were promoting it as a social media powered event. Bring your smartphone, take pictures of everything, tweet it out, post it online. So, what's posted online everywhere in the world? Sweaty pictures of me. If that isn't an incentive to get your act together as a speaker, I don't know what is. It's like quite literal hot mess.
yeah,
And I'm like, I spend years training speakers. I need to attend to myself, clean up your household before you try to clean up the world.
right.
So
Oh,
I did. I spent a lot of time, and there's nothing that succeeds in public speaking like practice.
yeah,
And every month I had to do the same thing. Like, we did 130 events before the pandemic kind of brought the event world to its knees. So
wow.
I was on stage every month doing the same thing. And perish, what is it? Get better or perish, sink or
Yes.
swim.
Trial by fire, baby. Trial by
Yeah. And, you're doing the same thing in general. Like, yeah, the companies change and, it's different theme nights and stuff like that. But you get good at it. And then you say, okay, I am comfortable with this now. I am not sweating through my clothes. I am not bright red face. My hair isn't sticking up. Well, maybe it is. But you start to expand and you start to say, I need to get better. So I'm going to go to school on other speakers. I'm going to watch what they do. I'm never going to do that. Maybe I'll take some of that. You learn, you talk to other speakers, and you practice and you try things and you see what works and what doesn't. And
right.
boy, there's a lot of doesn't work in my
Uh-huh.
history, but after a while, you get better at it.
I love it. I love it. And you still, so you were just in Austin speaking at a tech conference,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, Forrester is an analyst, industry analyst group, and they invited me to be part of their pre-event. So a lot of events will have, like, these are the days of the conference, and they have shoulder events either the day before or the day after, and they'll run
Right.
special programming on those days.
Okay.
So I was able to be there for the special programming day, focused on women and leadership, and then also attend the conference.
And you said it was heavy
It
male.
was it was definitely heavy mail. They had about 500 attendees and 200 online, which is one of the interesting things about what's happened over the last few years. Is
Right.
you've definitely gotten an expansion of the online and hybrid options.
Right.
And it was like the technology industry. You are definitely seeing fewer women and people of color on stage and in the crowd itself,
And in
just
the
the
count, right.
attendees. So the more that event managers do to get more diverse people on stage, the more communities they tap into, and perhaps they can start to make a more diverse audience as well.
I love it. Ah, I just love your mission. It's so great. And how do you deal with it? So you like have three because you have your PR thing by day, and then you have this magazine that you got to also feature innovation women people, and you work with your husband. So do you use humor sometimes? I know he's just down the hall, right?
Right there.
Do you tell
Yes.
jokes? Do you watch comedy? Like, how do you not kill each other?
You know what? It's funny. My husband, number one, he's my hero because he stayed home with the small people until they were no longer small people. And by the way, if you've ever met my two boys, they are decidedly not small people. I'm 5'10", and in my family, like, I'm tiny and petite.
Oh,
In the
wow. Okay.
real world, I am very tall and very large, but in their freaky world, I am tiny. Uh, But my husband stayed home with the boys until they no longer needed his, every waking moment attention. And, at that point, he had a problem that a lot of women have. Like, I have been out of the workforce for 15 years. What have
Yeah.
you been doing with your time, mister? And, I think sometimes almost an easier answer for women. They can say, I stayed home with my kids. When he said that,
Yeah.
we go down the path of, you did what?
Sure. Although I think that's happening now more and more, but yeah,
Yes.
it sounds like he was being a trailblazer and
Absolutely. 25 years ago? No, it
no.
was
Right.
not as common. And at that point, we said, okay, you can work for me. And for years, he stayed home and worked at home, even though we had an office for the company. So
Right.
we were doing remote work and making it possible for people to work remotely way
Or it
before the
was cool.
pandemic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so when we all came home too, I kicked him out of the good office. So now he works in the dining room.
And now he's in the
I took the nice office, which, by the way, wall, wall.
right. Yeah.
It's just about cube size.
It's just
Uh,
perfect.
but we are doing our thing all day long. He very definitely wears headphones all day, to not have to listen to me. Um,
Right.
which, and that way at the end of the day, we can both emerge from our little caves and say, hey, how was your day? It's good. How was your day?
Cool. Awesome. Awesome. I just am always fascinated by people that work with their spouses. I think that's so cool. And Bobbie, you deal with like you have a lot of team that you deal with.
Yeah.
And you use humor when there's tension?
Oh gosh, absolutely. I'm my humor is not for everybody. It's a bit of an acquired taste. Um, but it's funny. My older son says, "You are so funny because people don't expect you to be
Right.
funny."
Right.
And I was like, "So I'm funny because I'm not funny? How does that work?" And I think some of it is unexpected. Like I like the aside humor.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
I will be da 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 saying a thing, and then little side comment,
Right.
which for speakers can be so powerful
Yes.
because when you drop your voice and you speak to the audience as an aside, it's like you're taking them into your confidence and they
Yes.
lean forward and they want to hear what you have to say. And it's still a challenge to try and do that because you have to take into account laughter and applause and things like that. I have seen so many speakers who say hysterical things that no one ever hears because they haven't taken into account applause and laughter.
Yes.
So, as a speaker, like that's one of the things that I recommend to people. You need to be very aware of the audience interaction. And if you're saying something funny, you might need to hold it for a second.
Pause. Yes.
Hold it in and then push it out
That's
because
so great.
pauses are so powerful.
Yes.
Uh, you mentioned earlier that I had done a TED. I have done a TEDx. They are two different things. There are people that get very upset about that.
Okay.
Um, but I did a TEDx kind of at the last minute. So the story there is one day I'm driving home from a meeting and my phone rings in the car. I don't hands free. I'm very good, very well behaved. I answered the line and it was a young friend of mine who goes to Suffolk University or did at the time. And he said, I'm part of the committee that is doing a TEDx here at Suffolk, and we would like to invite you to be one of our speakers. And of course, my immediate reaction to that is, oh my goodness, my moment has arrived. I'm so excited because this is like the ultimate for a
Right.
speaker. Like one step up, TED. Yeah, I will take a TED invitation anytime, but
Yeah.
TEDx is good too. And I'm like, of course, I won't let you down, like I'm there for you. When is it? And he said, Tuesday. Like, and no. TED and TEDx, if you're unfamiliar with it, like people prepare for these things for months.
if not
Months
years.
and months and months. You have coaches, you have people to help you, you're workshopping ideas on like this is a process. This is not hop on stage in 3 days time thing. And I'm like, and no, we're out. Like I make a living doing this. I have a speakers bureau. I have a certain amount of stature in the industry. I cannot embarrass myself with this.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? I'm sure there are some members of Innovation Women. I mean, remember, we've got like 2,000 members. Sure, there's somebody on there that is actually prepared and, how do I say this? Reckless? Yes, reckless. You would have to be reckless to do this. Reckless enough to stand up and say, I'm prepared and I will do this in 3 days' time. And I did. I found 5 reckless souls who were willing to step on stage with 3 days notice. And I handed over the names and they said, yeah, none of these people do it for us. We still want you. I'm like, we talked about this. And he brings up you said you wouldn't let us down.
Oh,
Oh, that's not fair. That's so not fair. But I did it. And, in retrospect, absolutely, if I had had more time, there are things I would have done
sure.
and done very differently. But in the end, I feel like I didn't embarrass myself too much. I do this a lot. Obviously, I have a story, I have phrases. And by the way, they did not want me to talk about Innovation Women.
Oh, wow.
They wanted me to talk about Innovation Nights, my second company, which is
Okay.
something they were more familiar with. But I still managed to sneak in Innovation Women at the end.
I
And,
love it.
I did it. It's not too awful or embarrassing, but I'm going back to my original point. I swear I had a point, which was it's all about the pauses and the cadence. If you are listening to a TED or a TEDx, they have beat it into everybody's brain that you need to slow down. You need to take the breath,
Mm.
need to use pauses effectively. And they do such a good job that it's actually a cadence that you can recognize. Like if you've heard 1 or 2 TEDx's or TEDs, you will probably recognize that cadence. And all I did to prepare myself is the first day I did nothing except listen to other people's TEDs. And it helped
Wow.
me so much.
Wow.
And I still remember those lessons. I still remember the cadence. I still remember the importance of pausing. And if you have trouble with pausing, if you're a speaker who has trouble with pausing, I suggest you have a drink. Not to like take the edge off or anything like that, but it's a great way to pause.
Yes.
Like literally, that's a second or two. It's not long, but it is a way to make yourself stop.
That is
So think about
brilliant.
it.
I love it.
Little
Drop the mic.
lessons.
And I love that. And because I have this sort of, oh my God, but you have this, you do these little side comments. So like several of my friends say, oh, Elaine, I'm not that funny, but I always feel like that's something you can work with because not everybody needs to be over the top. 5 guys walk into a bar. There's lots of ways you can make little side comments or do things. And sometimes we laugh because it's true, right? We laugh because we're surprised. We laugh because we're shocked. We laugh because we can relate, and we laugh because things are true. And so, um, it does not everybody has to do it. Like there's lots of ways to, I feel like, cultivate humor. So I love that. And yeah, it learning to not step on your laughs is such an art. I remember was having a really good set and I had to keep like taking deep breaths because there was so much laughter coming, which is such a wonderful, luxurious problem to have. But I remember I was like, whew, it was so great. And anybody who wants to work on your speaking, watch some comedians. There are comedians who will use taking, pauses and using taking a drink of something to take a moment too. So that's awesome. Well, Bobbie, if people want to know more about you or Innovation Women, how can they find you? What do they need to do?
Well, innovationwomen.com, definitely. Very easy. Join one of our speaker Fridays. They're open to anybody. Come on in. It's a good conversation and a good time and a great way to connect with other people. And I will also say that, I'm very Googleable.
I love that. I'm Googleable. That sounds kind
Yes,
of
but you
creepy.
do have to spell my first name right. So
Oh, right.
Bobbie, because there's actually a Bobbie Carlton,
Oh,
and he and I are on a committee together, and it's
oh
just the
no.
funniest thing. Like, we have practically nothing in common except for the fact we have the same name, and this particular committee. And we were on the same committee together for 5 years. And no one ever mentions to either one of us that there's two Bobbie Carltons on this committee.
That's funny.
And I'm
That's
like,
really random.
it's totally random, like craziness. But yes, if you find me, with the IE at the beginning of or at the end of my first name, you will find me. If you find Bobbie with a Y, he'll send you to me.
I'll send you to me. Okay, cool. And does anybody have any questions for Bobbie about Innovation Women or what she's up to or uh any yeah,
And people are
pauses are
like, we're
great.
tired watching you.
No. I look forward to joining. Cool. Yeah, awesome. Oh yeah. So what are your speaker Fridays?
Yep.
Cool.
So Speaker Fridays is actually a relatively new name for the drop in chit chat that we have every Friday morning from 8:45 a.m. to 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. And you come in, we have a 15-second countdown timer so everybody can do their super quick introductions. And by the way, that we started earlier now because there are so many people, it's hard to get through the introductions. So we only do introductions until 9, and then we get into meaty conversation about being a speaker, about doing anything related to speaking, whether it's authorship or marketing or speaker business models. Most common question. Want to take a guess, Elaine?
How much money do I charge?
How much do I get paid? How do I get paid? How do I find paid speaking engagements? There's a theme.
Yes.
So it's just drop in, the link is the same. If you sign up for our newsletter, which is basically innovationwomen.com/newsletter, you can get the code or the link to the Zoom call sent to you at like 8:30 in the morning, so you can be ready for 8:45. And it's the same link every week. So if you can't join one week, just pop it into your schedule. You can join the next time you're available.
I
But
love
we
it.
we actually renamed it Speaker Friends. I want to say about maybe like less than 2 months ago. And it stems from something I say a lot, that speakers need speaker friends. The most successful speakers have friends who are speakers who are maybe a little ahead of them, or maybe they've gone off in a slightly different direction, but they're doing the speaking thing. And getting that feedback from other people who are speakers is just so important. And I've been doing this like drop-in time for years, and I never could come up with like a good name for it. And I was like, Innovation Women Coffee, Innovation Women Friday Chat, like all of these different stupid names. And then all of a sudden I was like, it's Speaker Friends. And
I
everybody's like, yes, it is Speaker Friends. So name is out there. So yay, can't
yeah,
change it now.
It's so great. And it's Wendy Babcock. She's speaking later. She's an innovation women person. And I've told Noreen, I've talked about it to a lot of people because I think it's just great. There's a lot of generosity of spirit. And there's just some really great women on there and all different levels. People who've been, $1 million speakers and people who are just starting out. And it's just a great, yeah, framework. And you even are you still doing the one for the West Coast people?
I literally just dropped that into the chat.
Oh,
So
okay.
once a month, first Friday, we do a Friday noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific speaker friends, just to try and make it a little less, oh my God, time of the day for our West Coast buds.
Nice.
And I will tell you, this morning I was talking with a couple of big West Coast tech firms, and they're both talking about putting a large number of tech women, like super geeky tech people, into Innovation Women. They're like, so would you be willing to do more speaker friends on a West Coast friendly time? I'm like, how many people are you putting in? Sure.
For you, darling. Yes. So
Yes, for you and your cybersecurity people.
yes,
Yes.
I think I know, like Elaine Church, like there's several people I've said, well, you have to get up really early. So that'll be awesome.
Yeah. And by the way, like so many people do show up from the West Coast
I
and they
know.
just don't turn on their camera. We're like, that's okay. You can do that.
Right. I love, yeah, some people say I'm not camera ready. So
It's all
I
right.
love, okay, we have one final question for you, Bobbie. Best advice for managing many companies, businesses without being overwhelmed.
Who says I'm not overwhelmed? I have a great team. Seriously. Like it's not just me, it's a whole team of people. And I just hire people that can do the things I can't. Like we have designers, I draw stick figures and they look sad. Like we have marketing people, I'm more of a PR person. Like we just have people that do the stuff I can't do. And
Okay,
by the way, I love my team. They're the best. And I would be very lonely without them.
that's
And
great. Yeah,
insane. I would definitely be insane. I would just
I
go
know
right off
Emily
the
is,
deep end.
yeah, it's all about having a great team, isn't it? So
Yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you, Bobbie. Thank you for your time and your energy and your heart. And I hope that I'll see everybody from here on Friday. And I just really appreciate your time. And you've said yes to me. You were going to be on my podcast before we decided to put it on the shelf for a while. And just thank you so much for being willing. So
And I can stay a little while, right?
of course. Oh my
Okay.
God. We would love to have you because, of course, and first of all, let's give a big round of applause for Bobbie Carlton. Woo! Bobbie with an IE. Woo, 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 woo. Innovation Women, Innovation Nights. Ooh, she's got like a woo, fancy. Awesome. It looks like a life raft. I love that.
We
So
actually have a logo like this.
cool. Awesome. And one other thing is I love is you can come to the Fridays for free. And then if you want to join, you can join. Like it's like just come play. And she does Clubhouse and no, rewind. Okay.
Rewind. No, we gave
sorry.
up on Clubhouse.
Okay, we all
When they opened it up to everybody, it got messy.
It got crazy. Yep, that happened. So all right. Thank you, Bobbie. Woo!